Okay, welcome back to Zenwa Therapy, aka Backyard Therapy. So today, what I want to talk about is this concept of mindfulness. Nowadays, it's pretty mainstream. A lot of people have heard about this concept of mindfulness and have different definitions of mindfulness. So I'm going to explain my version of it, like my interpretation of mindfulness and how it can help clients that I work with. So first, I'm going to tell a story here. It's a visual illustration to kind of get you to hopefully understand how I see mindfulness. Okay. All right. So the story starts with imagine if you woke up one morning, okay, and you woke up in the middle of the freeway, right? So, I would imagine it's a pretty like terrifying experience because you were just in your bed at home. So, if you woke up in the middle of the freeway, okay, you're first probably going to start wondering like, why am I here? How did I get here? What's going on, right? And after that shock factor is kind of experienced and has subsided, I'm going to assume that a lot of anxiety and emotions are going to start intensifying, right? Because you are stuck in the middle of the freeway. There's a lot of traffic going on. Cars are going pretty fast. And you're trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I get off this freeway and just go home? Okay. So as more minutes go by, right? Um, the cars in the freeway, okay? The sounds of the cars, right? The honking, the loud music, the people yelling, having road rage. It's going to get more annoying, more bothersome, okay? Even just the wind that you feel from each car that goes by that hits you. Let's say it's a cold morning. Um, that's also going to start to be bothersome, right? So now you're adding more stress to the situation. Okay. You also notice that some cars are small, some cars are very big, like those big rig trucks. Some cars are going very slow. Some cars are going speed limit, and other cars are going very fast. Okay. So you're also going to smell the burning rubber of the cars, the exhaust, and the smog. And all of this is going to get pretty irritating, right? And you might get so anxious, you could possibly have a panic attack, okay? So let's say as time's going by and you're trying to figure out how to get off the freeway, right? Right before you have a panic attack, let's say you get lucky and you get lucky because there's a break in traffic on one side of the freeway. Okay, so um, instinctively you just sprint across the freeway to the shoulder lane on that side, right? And as soon as you get there, traffic starts again, and all the cars are driving through on the freeway. So you're on one side of the freeway now on the shoulder lane. You're trying to catch your breath, okay, because you just sprinted. Um, and once you do, you realize like, okay, since I'm on one side of the freeway, I can probably just get off the freeway and figure out how to get home, right? So um, before you try to get off the freeway fully, okay, you notice, well, this right lane um, that's next to me still, the cars are going by pretty fast. And like, if they don't see me in the shoulder lane that I'm standing in, and they switch lanes, they're on their phone, they're swerving, I can easily get hit, right? So the fear factor uh, comes in and you're like, yeah, let's just get off the freeway, right? And then figure out how do I get home. So you're looking around, and let's say down the freeway, you see an off ramp, maybe like a quarter mile away. And you're thinking, okay, I just got to walk over there, walk down the off ramp. Okay, let's say it curves down, and there's a gas station at the corner. Like, great, let's just go there first. So you do that. You take a little walk very safely. You go around and down the off ramp, and then you are now off the freeway at the gas station. Okay. So So now I'm going to assume that your anxiety, your emotions, they're going to be less now because you're off the freeway, right? Um, However, okay, even though you're off the freeway and you're at the gas station, the bridge of the freeway you were just on, okay, is right behind you, and your mind maybe has some PTSD because you were just on the freeway, you were stuck, and you had no idea how you got there. So it's fixated on the freeway and it's thinking of thoughts like, if a car loses control, if a driver loses control, there's an accident, and it jumps off the freeway bridge, like, I'm right here, it can land on me. Okay? Like, you've seen it in movies, in TV shows. What if it happens to me? Okay? Even though the rational mind is thinking, the probability is pretty low, but because of the PTSD and anxiety that's still there, it's thinking like, well, but what if today's the day, right? So, with those thoughts, you're thinking, well, let's just like get away from the freeway. That's a pretty good distance, uh, and then figure out how to get home. Okay. So let's say you walk like a 10-minute walk just away from the freeway, right? So you do that. Okay. You have a 10-minute walk, and you finally get far enough, and you're like, okay, I think this is far enough from the freeway where I don't have to worry about a car jumping off the bridge and hitting me. So you get there, okay, you look back at the freeway, and you're like, yep, that's a good distance. I feel pretty safe. And now at this point of the story, I'm going to imagine again your anxiety, all your emotions, all the thoughts you're having, they're drastically reduced, and you are now feeling somewhat normal, right? Um, so since you feel normal, okay, now you can calmly figure out, okay, how do I get home? Maybe you don't have your cell phone on you. You don't even know what city you're in. So you're just trying to figure out, okay, let's come up with a plan to figure out how to get home. So um, before doing that in your mind, you notice that you walk towards a very tall building. Let's say it's a commercial business building. And you're kind of looking up at the building, and it's pretty tall, maybe like 20 stories. So your mind, for some reason, is still fixated about the freeway and all the cars on there. So now I was thinking, like, well, just out of curiosity, what does the freeway look like if I take this, if I go in the business building, take the elevator to the top floor, um, and then kind of go walk towards the window and just look at the freeway, right? So you're like, I don't think I'm working today. Today's my off day. Um, let's go for it. Why not? Maybe an extra few minutes. I'll go in the building and check it out. So you do. You walk in the building, you take the elevator to the top floor, and then you walk over to the window. And now you're looking at the freeway, okay, from a distance, like a bird's eye point of view, right? And you're looking down, and you start noticing a couple of things, right? Like, the cars from here, they look pretty small, right? They're like this little Hot Wheels, those toy cars that you probably play with as a child, and they're just on the freeway. Wherever they're going, the cars are going, right? Um, you also notice, well, I don't hear the cars anymore. Okay, I don't hear the honking, the loud music. You can't feel the wind of the cars that's passing by. You can't smell the smog or the exhaust coming from the cars. So now it's almost like you're just watching a silent movie, okay? And you're just noticing the cars that go by, okay? Um, and maybe the next minute, your mind starts thinking about like, there are like always cars on the freeway, right? You look to your right, you look to your left through the window, and you can just see all these little cars, and it almost seems like it goes on forever, right? Um, but there are always cars on the freeway, and you're wondering like, where's everyone going, right? I mean, I guess people are going to work, but like, where else are they going? Okay, so you're just being curious and trying to figure out like, okay, how come there are always cars on the freeway? Um, and then you start to notice, right? Um, hmm. Looking at the cars on the freeway from here, it's actually calming. Like it's relaxing to just like watch the cars go by. And you find that very interesting. Okay. So you notice that thought, and then you're like, you know what? I think that's good enough. I'm going to just figure out how to get home. Okay. So you figure out a way, and then you go home. All right. So that's the end of the story. So now you might be wondering, okay, what is the point of all this? How does this explain mindfulness? And this is kind of where it comes in. So I'm going to change a couple things about the story to kind of help you hopefully understand what mindfulness is to me. So on this freeway, okay, all the cars, they represent all of our thoughts, okay, all of our worries, our anxiety, all of our emotions, our memories, um, internal dialogue, um, basically anything that happens within us, okay, and in our mind. So that's one thing I'll change about the story, okay. The second thing I'll change about the story is, okay, um, these cars on our mental freeway, each one that passes by, it doesn't matter what size the car is, what color the car is, how fast it's going in our mind, okay. Each car that passes by, um, it goes fishing. Okay, it's weird to say it, but these cars go fishing, right? And each car will cast out a fishing line to you. And what's usually at the end of the fishing line? A hook and bait. Okay, and in this case, it can be very delicious, tempting bait. All right, and so what happens when we bite the bait? Okay, so if these cars on our mental freeway are coming by our mind and we bite the bait, then it takes you for a ride and you don't know if you're going to like it or not until you go on the ride, right? So, um, my version of mindfulness basically means, right? Whatever is in our mind, all the thoughts and emotions and memories, etc., okay? Um, they are there not because we want them to be there, but because that's the way our mind has been conditioned over, let's say, thousands of years of human evolution, okay? And if we are not aware that it's always casting the fishing line to us with a hook and bait, then we're always going to bite thinking this is what's supposed to do or what I'm supposed to do, or this is normal. Like we just got to bite at everything that goes into our mind and then we go for that ride, right? So if we're talking about like depressive emotions, anxious thoughts, worries, past memories that are traumatic, if we're biting those type of hooks and bait, just imagine what ride you're going on all the time that you probably don't like, right? So, from this perspective, okay, um, this could be a very good reason why a lot of us experience depression, anxiety, PTSD, any type of mental health diagnosis or symptoms, okay? So, from my experience, right, um, I'll use my hands as an example, okay? This hand here represents all the cars on our mental freeway, okay? Um, this hand here represents you, okay? And what I mean by you is the awareness, the experiencer, the observer of all of these, right? So, without proper training in mindfulness, this is what it usually looks and feels like for us, okay? It looks like this. So, it's going to seem like they are the same thing, right? So if this hand here, which is all the cars on your mental freeway, if it throws that hook and bait, you are so close to it that you already bit without even knowing that you bit the bait, and now you're on for a ride that you probably don't like, right? Um, so with practice and consistency regarding mindfulness, okay, this is what usually happens. It's not guaranteed, okay? It looks like this. So the first step is to realize they are two separate things. The cars on the freeway and you, the observer and the awareness of all these things, okay? So you notice like, there is a line between them that separates the two. They're still very close and touching, but they're not intertwined anymore. And then with more time of practicing of mindfulness exercises, okay, this is what usually happens, right? So what is this? This is space being created in your mind um, from all the cars on your mental freeway and you, the experiencer of all these things. So if you're able to do this internally, okay, it's not a tangible space, it's just inside of you, then when these cars go by on your freeway and each one throws that fishing line with the hook and bait, it'll land in front of you, right? And you'll see it from a distance. And then from there, you can choose. Do I want to bite this bait and hook this time to go for the ride? Or you can choose not to, right? Because if you're like this, you probably already bit and didn't even know. But if you're like this and it lands in front of you, now you have a choice. What is your response going to be, right? So if you go back to the story about the freeway that I mentioned maybe like 10 minutes ago, um, as you got farther away from the freeway, your symptoms of anxiety, emotions, stress levels, it became lower and lower and lower, right? Because in that story, it's easier to understand physical space. It's like, oh yeah, if I am farther away from the freeway that was kind of traumatic 30 minutes ago, then of course I'm going to feel better because I'm not in the middle of it anymore, right? But now think about the mental space. It's harder to grasp, right? Because it's not physically tangible. So in your mental freeway, if you, the experiencer of everything inside of you, if you're standing in the middle of your mental freeway, each car that goes by that throws that bait and hook, you're probably going to bite all of them. Like, there will be so many that you would feel like you have to keep biting, and over time you can get burned out, you can have an emotional eruption, or something is bound to happen that is unhealthy, or something will go wrong in your life, right? So just imagine mentally inside of you, if you can start creating distance from your mental freeway and all the cars, and you do it slowly. So you get to one side of the freeway, and then you get off the freeway, you take a little walk, and then now you can be in that building on the 20th floor, looking down from a distance on your mental freeway and all the cars that are going to be on it, right? From there, it's probably going to be much easier to make better decisions, to not be so reactive or impulsive to circumstances or situations, right? And usually someone would feel more balanced, more centered. Uh, they'd feel more grounded. And so when life keeps happening, just situation by situation, okay, experience by experience, on average, they'll make better decisions, right? So I hope this is making sense. I mean, I guess the concept itself could be kind of confusing, but this is just my version of it. So with mindfulness, it's about our internal world not our external, right? Because I would say um, a lot of mindfulness information out in the world right now is about doing something mindfully, right? Like, hey, if you're eating, just try to be mindful about the eating, and that in itself, helps you to be present. And that's definitely a part of it. It's just for me, as a therapist and practicing mindfulness for many years myself personally, um, I focus more on the internal world to practice mindfulness because it usually helps a little more from my experience working with clients, right? So, there is more to this concept. So this just might be part one regarding these type of videos. So maybe I'll make more parts of mindfulness in the future. Um, so I hope it helps. All right. Um, I guess maybe the last thing I'll mention is when it comes to mindfulness, um, it's to me it is more about being mindful about what your mind is doing to you, right? Because if you believe you are just your mind, like I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, I am my memories, I am whatever happens inside of here, then a lot of times, again, it's going to feel like this, right? But instead, if you view it as like, I think my brain is like a muscle. My mind is like a muscle, like this, like my bicep muscle, right? And so if you view it as a muscle, okay, then you can train and condition it to where you're in control of it more than it's in control of you, right? Because it'd be very strange to say like, oh yeah, I am my bicep muscle, right? But it's very easy for us to say like, oh yeah, I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, I am my memories. But if I'm not them, like what else would I be? Like, who would I be? Okay. So in mindfulness, in my opinion, it's I am the awareness of my thoughts, I am the experiencer of my emotions, I am the observer of anything that happens inside of me. And I think that in itself helps us create distance, just like that, right? Um, Another example I'll give before I start wrapping up this video is if you have a thought you don't like, let's say a common one would be I'm not good enough. Okay, that comes up in therapy um, a lot, like probably weekly for sure. So, well, I'm not good enough. Okay, if we identify with that thought alone, then it feels like, oh, then that's what I am. Since I'm thinking it, then I must be not good enough, right? Or with mindfulness, okay, just to be mindful of the thought, to try to be objective and as an observer. You can say to yourself, I notice that the thought of I'm not good enough is arising within me. Okay? So I'll say it again to see if you caught on to it, okay? I notice that the thought of I'm not good enough is happening inside of me. All right. So just the fact that you can notice the thought in your mind gives you that separation just a little bit. And then from there, right, through therapy or through more work and different exercises, you can start understanding that, just because I have that thought, it doesn't mean that that's me, right? Um, so maybe that thought is there to remind me that I can get better or that I can change something that I'm doing, right? So, again, that's just a quick example. Um, just to notice what your thought is, right? Here, I'll give you another one before we wrap up. Um, I feel depressed. Okay, let's say that's the emotion you have, and the thought comes up. I feel depressed, right? Okay, or I notice that depression is here. I notice that depression is present. All right? So, just those few moments to pause and notice what's going on internally can help you change your mindset on how to tackle the problem, how to make changes to be better. All right. So, yeah, this is just like the initial stages of mindfulness, in my opinion. So, I hope it made sense. Uh, if it didn't make sense, I apologize. It's not an easy concept to, I guess, explain. But I do often explain mindfulness kind of like this when I'm working with clients. Sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't, right? It's a hit or miss. So it's not for everybody. So if it helped you, you can reflect on it and figure out how you can apply more of it into your life to hopefully have a better life. All right. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Be well, Zen well, and we'll talk soon.